right, ladies and gentlemen, last video for this this part of the chapter. So we're now going to talk about systems of inequality. So just like with a system of equation, so a system of inequalities is two or more inequalities solved together, meaning solved at the same time. Now we do these graphically instead of algebraically, just because there's a little bit more involved here. So some things to remember when we're graphing: has to be in y equals mx plus b form, even though it's an inequality. If you have the line underneath, then it's going to be a solid line. If you have just greater than or equal to, it's going to be a dotted line. And I want you identifying what's your slope, what's your y-intercept. So when I look at letter A, I have y is greater than negative 2x plus 1. My slope is negative 2. My y-intercept is 1. So we're going to graph that. I start at 1. Slope tells me to go down 2 over 1. And of course my board is off a little bit. I apologize for that. Okay. It doesn't have the line, so when I connect these, I have to do it as a dotted line. This is also then where I have to do the test point to see which side I shade. So if I fill in 0, 0 is greater than 0 plus 1. 0 is not greater than 1. That's false, which means 0 is not one of the solutions. The solutions would be on the other side of the line. So we would shade there. Okay, for the other equation, or inequality, so my slope, it's in y equals form. My slope is 1, my b is 3. So we go up to 3, I go up 1 over 1. This time it has the or equal to, so when I connect with a solid line. If I do my test point, 0 is less than 0 plus 3. 0 is less than 3, that's true, so then I shade down here. So what we're looking at, right, when we did our equations, we were looking for the point of intersection, right? It either had 1 point, no points, or 2 points, or sorry, infinite. Here, we're looking at where do the shadings overlap. And what we do is we label that then with an S, which stands for solution. So my shadings overlap here. So any point that's where the shadings overlap would be a correct answer to this set of inequalities. All right, so again, the only new part should be this having to put the S in. So for letter B, I have to get y by itself. So we have to subtract 2x. So y is greater than or equal to negative 2x minus 2. My m is negative 2. My b is also negative 2. So I start at negative 2. I go down 2 over 1. Again, I'm going to reverse it so that I have a lot of points since I don't have a ruler with me. It's or equal to, so when I connect them, I do it with a solid line. When I do my test point and put 0 in, this is going to turn out to be 0 plus 0 greater than or equal to negative 2. That's a true statement, so I make sure I shade the 0. Okay, the other one. I have subtract 2x from both sides. So we have y is less than negative 2x plus 4. My m is negative 2, my b is 4. So I start at 4. I go down 2 over 1. So if you notice, these lines are actually going to end up being parallel to each other since they have the same slope. But that doesn't mean that there's no solution. All right, we have to see where the shading ends up. This time I don't have a line, so when I connect them, I have to do so with a dotted line. When I pick my test point, 0 plus 0 is less than 4. That again is a true statement. So this time we shade this way. So my overlap is anywhere that's in between. So my solution set, I'm going to label it twice just because it's kind of narrow. The solution is anywhere in between those. Okay, so this time, because they're parallel, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's no solution. There actually is a solution. It's in between those, in between the two lines. All right, let's try number 3, or letter C, I should say. So again, I have to get my y by itself, so I have to subtract 3x. So negative y greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 2. I have to divide by a negative 1. And remember, I'm going to put it up here just so I have more room. When I divide, my sign switches. When I divide by a negative, my sign switches. So we have 3x minus 2. My m is 3, my b is negative 2. So I start at negative 2. I go up 3 over 1. I'm going to reverse it. 1, 2, 3. It has the or equal to, so when I connect, it's a solid line. When I do my test point, again, I always put my test point back into the original before I did any changing. So that's going to be 0 minus 0 greater than or equal to 2. That's false. So that means I can't shade that way. I have to shade down here. Again, I apologize that my board's off. I know you're doing a much better job making it beautiful. So let's see. Here I have 3x minus y, so I'm going to subtract 3x again. So negative y less than negative 3x minus 5. I am going to divide by a negative. Excuse me. So y is greater than 3x plus 5. So I start at 5. I'm going to go up 3 over 1. Oh my goodness, sorry. 1, 2, 3 over 1. This time we don't have the line, so I have to make it a dotted line for the blue. My test point, if I put 0 in, 0 minus 0 less than or equal to negative 5. Again, that is not true. So this time I'm shading over here. So here's an example where there is no solution. There is no overlap between those because the lines are parallel. However, the shading is on opposite sides, so that would be a no solution. All right, for letter D, when I have y is less than or equal to 3, that's going to be a horizontal line at 3, and it's solid because it says or equal to. Less than, so I'm going to shade all down here. So those are pretty easy. Here I have to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract x. So y is greater than or equal to negative x plus 1. My slope is negative 1. My y-intercept is 1. So I'm going to go down 1 over 1. Look at all those beautiful points I get to put on here to make my line so nice and straight. It does, it does have the or equal to, so it's another solid line. If I put in 0, 0 is my test point. 0 is not greater than or equal to 1, so I don't want to shade there. I'm going to shade away from the 0, 0. I'm going to shade up. So my solution is right over here where they intersect. Overlap, whatever you want to think of it. Okay, I know there's some more problems over here. We'll try working on those in class. But any questions? I mean, it's basically a review. If you're not sure, go back to chapter 5 to review how to graph inequalities on a number line if you need help with that. Any questions? Bring them to class. Have a good night.